All right, we are officially live, so we will give it a second or two, a little minute here for people to join us. I can see people are trickling in, so welcome everybody. I'm with Drew here, of course, a familiar face for all of you, I'm sure. Very excited to partner today and bring you guys a webinar all about how to use Practice Better as a licensed esthetician. So maybe let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I always find that really intriguing and interesting, understanding kind of where people are tuning in from. So definitely let us know in the chat. I'm in Canada. I'm in a city called Calgary. I don't know if there's anybody else hanging out around this area, but I can see we've got people from all over. Ooh, Hawaii. That would be nice. We got another little burst of winter here yesterday, so I could definitely use some sunshine.
Same, more wind over here. Not loving it.
Yeah, we're having a really late spring. I mean, not super untypical for where I live, but compared to last year, it's a whole lot more cold. All right, so looks like we've got quite a few people signing in. We are recording this webinar, so even if you can't stay the duration of the hour, no worries, we will be sending out a replay. I'll just kick us off with a little bit of an intro here. So my name is Brittany Andretian. I am a business success coach, Practice Better, and I am joined today by Drew. So Drew, like I said, should be a familiar face to all of you. And for those of you who are not familiar with Practice Better is a practice management platform, allowing you to run kind of every aspect of your business all in one place. So we work with all different types of health and wellness professionals. And today we're going to be showing you how to use it as a licensed esthetician. So Drew is someone that we would refer to at Practice Better as a super user. She really gets the platform, knows how to use it in a really efficient and functional way. She's really kind of paving the way for you all as licensed estheticians. And she's given us some real great insight into her workflow where she's found success. And we're going to kind of go over today how you can get started in Practice Better. So those first few steps that you'll want to take if you are starting up your practice in Practice Better. And this will work for you whether you are shifting over to virtual, maybe you're completely virtual, or maybe you still kind of are a hybrid of in-person services and virtual. So despite whatever you are, it will work for both. And we do have an offer that we're happy to extend you at the end of today's webinar. So definitely kind of stay tuned till the end if you can, or catch us on the replay after because we do have that exclusive discount for you. All right, I am going to screen share and kick us off here. And when I do that, I am going to turn off my camera so that you can focus on the screen here. So Drew, if you feel compelled to turn your camera off as well, you can do so. As I go through the session today, please feel free to use the chat box. I will be pausing throughout to kind of pay attention to any questions that are relevant to today's topic and answer as many as I can along the way. But we have lots to dive into, so let's kick this off here. So what you're seeing on my screen here is a look at the Practice Better portal. So this is from the practitioner side. This is what you'll see kind of when you log in. And you can see that I've got my different widgets here, which is allowing me a view of kind of all of the things that I need to stay apprised of on a daily basis. The nice thing too is that I can kind of move these around. So these widgets here can be moved if I'd rather see, you know, my pending invoices up in the top left. I can play around with my view there. But I get a nice comprehensive look at any upcoming sessions that I have. I can see any kind of tasks I've set for myself, the journal entries, invoices, active programs, lots of great information right when you start. You'll notice too that I've got my logo and my colors in here. This is because I'm on a plan type that allows for customization of brand colors and logos. So something to keep in mind as it does lend for a really nice experience for your clients to see your own kind of branding and colors, your logos, maybe something that mirrors what you have existing on your current website, so that it feels really kind of consistent across the board. So I just wanted to share that kind of right off the hop here. But let's dive in and say, for example, that you are starting off for the first time. What are the first few steps that you'll want to take as an esthetician to get your business up and running? So the first thing that I like to share with people is to get set up on their profile. So right where your name is after you've set up your account, there'll be an edit profile section. And this is where you can include all of your professional kind of information here. So you could choose to have a logo or your image. You can put in your credentials, your name, your time zone. This is especially important if you are working virtually because you'll have a whole wide roster of clients living all over, right? So really good to include your time zone there. Your biography is a really good place for you to talk about what you specialize in. So Drew, for example, specializes in acne. So certainly something beneficial for you to put in your biography so prospective clients know who you are and what you're about. And this would also be a great place for you to do something like a client testimonial, right? So something that's social proof, something that's going to give your prospective clients a look at the value that you can contribute to them and get an idea of who you are. So certainly something to start off with, and then you can add in any accreditations that you have. So you can see I have licensed esthetician here, and you can add multiple. So if you have multiple accreditations, no problem, you can add those in there. And then this is an opportunity for you to link to any kind of social networks that you want to direct people to. So something to keep in mind there as well. So this is, again, a really good place to start just because it allows people to know who you are so that they can make sure that you're a good fit for them. And if you are working virtually, one thing to note is that under the company profile tab, so you can see that I've just navigated to company profile up in the top left here, I've added my locations. Now, I typically demo for nutrition professionals, so some of what we see today might not make perfect sense, but I could easily just add in my location. So maybe I'm going to say this is my integrative skin clinic. You'll see that Google is synced with this. So if your actual location is logged with Google, you'll be able to just click it. You can make that a default location. My clients can book in-person sessions at this location, and then I can add in all the details. So this is really great. Again, if you're working with clients in person for certain services, they'll be able to see where you're located, and you can add in any additional information into this page here. Then when clients check out your profile, and we'll just take a quick look here, they'll actually be able to click and have a map where they can access directions and know exactly where they need to go. So really good idea, because as you set up your services and later your availability, which we'll get to shortly here, you'll be letting people know where they're actually meeting with you at. Okay, so that's step number one, is just kind of doing some of the back end work of setting up your profile, letting people know who you are, setting up your locations. If you're virtual and you're completely virtual, you're no longer meeting with clients in person, no worries, you don't have to add any locations. That's just optional for those who are working in person. All right, so now that we have that set up, let's move on to step number two, which is to set up some of the services. So that's located under my practice, and this is what you're going to be adding as far as how you'll be meeting with your clients. So we have kind of two different options here. We have your services, and these are the individual ways that you meet with clients. So you can see that I've got some examples here. And then we have packages. So these are bundled services grouped together. So if you have, with certain clients that you're going to need to meet with them more than once in order to see benefit and to see difference with their skin, no worries. You can make packages so that clients can buy one package rather than having to go through the motions with multiple. But you can also keep things, more open if they're more a la carte, and you can offer them as add-ons, for example. So maybe I have my, facial package. I'm creating a 6-month facial package, and my client wants to add in some blue light therapy or some red light therapy. When I'm creating a package for a client, I could choose to add in additional sessions. So even though I've created the package here, I could choose to add in additional things if you are selling certain services more a la carte and as add-ons. So something certainly to keep in mind there. But when you're setting up a service, let's take a look at what that looks like. One thing that I want to highlight as you're getting familiar with Practice Better is that you'll often see this little red button here in the bottom right. So that's what we refer to as the red fast action button. And this will always have kind of the main functionalities for any given page that you're on. So with this page in particular, you can see that I can add a service or I can add a package. And I've got lots of examples here. So let's just click here. we'll go into the initial skin consultation. You'll notice that you have the ability to customize the header image. So I've just popped over to Canva and created something. We do have some stock images, but you will notice that they're geared a little bit more towards the nutrition professionals on the site at this point in time. So certainly feel free to create your own and upload that. From there, you'll be able to name your service. So I have my initial skin consultation. I've also associated a color with it. And this is just really nice because when my calendar fills up, I'll be able to see what's happening just based on the color. So it's a little bit of a trick for you as the practitioner just to kind of stay organized. You can add a description. So this is client facing and something that they will see when they go through your booking page. So anything that you want them to know about the service, including what it entails, what you'll go over, what they can expect, add in that description here, and you do have some formatting tools. You could even take it one step further and add in a video. So there's a few places within Practice Better where you can choose to embed videos from YouTube or Vimeo, and it will feel like a really nice personal touch for the client, but that's optional. So just keep that in mind. You'll set up the duration of the session. So my initial skin consultation will be 60 minutes. Any kind of terms and conditions that you want to add. So these are something that you'll create in your profile. So something that's individual to every practitioner. So if you have your own cancellation policy, certainly create that and you'll be able to add it to any of your services. Next is setting up the payment. So you can collect payment and create invoices directly from Practice Better. If you'd like to collect payment right within the portal, you'll have to integrate with either Square or Stripe. So you have your options there, and all of our integrations are just through the gear icon, third-party integration, nice and simple to set those up. So I've set up my fee. We have a couple of different pricing models at Practice Better. So for this particular service, I want it to be a fixed one-time fee. If it was a larger offering, you can create a payment plan to make it more accessible for your clients. You can also, for certain offerings, create more of a membership style. So think of like your Netflix subscription where you're paying monthly. So that's an option for you too. But in this particular situation, it works better for me to have a fixed fee. So I've set my fee accordingly. You can also change the currency. So given that I'm in Canada, of course, I have the Canadian dollar, but you can very easily change that to make sure that it is relevant to where you're located. If you are integrated with Stripe or Square, you will be able to require payment at the time of booking, but you do have some other options here as well. Next, you get to say how this service will be made available. So for my skin consultations, I know that I want to offer them virtually because I'm shifting over to more of a virtual practice, but I could also choose to offer them in person. So, some services might lend better to only in person. For example, my red light therapy offering, some of my facials, the microneedling, those are things that I'm only going to be offering in person. But things like my follow-ups, my check-ins, my initial skin consultations, I know that I can also successfully do those virtually. So I will be offering those by video chat as well. So Practice Better does have a built-in telehealth feature, but we do also integrate with Zoom. So you have your options there of which you'd like to use. If you do integrate with Zoom, you can still start that session directly from Practice Better. So no needing to navigate out of the platform. Then you've got lots of different options as far as buffers and different booking options to make sure that your calendar is running smoothly. So nothing like, one session running late and then the rest of your day kind of having that domino effect where everything else is late afterwards. So these buffers are really handy in giving you some time before a session in your calendar and after. And you can choose what this looks like, if anything at all. They're not necessary if you want to go kind of back to back, but this at least will allow you to, finish writing up your notes, making your product recommendations, use the bathroom, grab a glass of water if you need to, without impacting the next client. You can also restrict your clients from booking. So for my practice, I like to at least have 24 hours notice before I see someone pop up in my calendar. So I have set it for one day before, but if you have the ability to be a little bit more flexible than that, you can choose accordingly with what works for you. So lots of different options, as you can see here, to make sure that your bookings are going to play into your calendar in a way that, really makes sense for you and your workflow. With every service that you set up, you do have the option of labeling the button whatever you want. So, you could request session. You could say that you have booked, confirmed, whatever wording you want, if you want it to, resonate with your clients and your business. And you can also add a redirect URL. So maybe you have a Facebook group that you want to direct people to. Maybe you have, you want to direct them to the program that they're a part of, whatever it may be, you can add in that redirect URL. Booking restrictions. So certain services that you set up, you might want to have public. So public means that your clients will be able to book themselves in for those sessions, or you may want to have them private. So private will allow you as the practitioner to book and have a little bit more control over what a client is booking in with what type of service, when that's happening. So again, really comes down to your individual workflow and how you work best with your clients. Automatically, when a client books a session with you, we do have notification options that can go out. So you'll have your options here of what you'd like the client to receive, and you can edit these if you like. So if you have some specific information that you want the client to be aware of, feel free to customize that as well. Okay, so we'll hit save, and that service has been created. So one thing to note here is that you've got advanced options. So as I said, if you're interested in a payment plan, you can set that up through the advanced options or booking page forms. So if there's a certain form that you want your client to fill out, so maybe with that initial consultation, you want your client to be filling out the intake form right at that same time, you could choose to add in your intake form here. All right, I'm just going to pause and look at the chat here. Is there a redirect URL for every service? Yes, there is. So it's optional whether you use it or not. It might make sense in some cases and maybe not in the others. So for example, with maybe a free skin consult, that's maybe like your discovery session with a client where they're just getting to know you and see kind of what you have to offer. So maybe that one is a good fit for you to redirect them to a booking page. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But a booking page that you generate in Practice Better, which will kind of allow them to see your other offerings. So if they're interested in booking in with a paid service, for example.
And Brittany, I actually use my redirect to send them over to a website page that I have created to actually like break up what I need from them during my consultation process. So it's almost like they get redirected to a form that they're now forced to read.
Yeah, exactly. So a fantastic way to work with the clients to set expectations and really educate them on what your process looks like. So whether you use an idea like Drew's there, or you even have a blog post or something of that nature that's going to benefit the client. Or like I said, if you have a Facebook group and you want to build that up, there's lots of different opportunities for that redirect URL. All right, so let's go into forms now. So most practitioners, whether they're nutrition or estheticians, everybody who's working with clientele typically will have some type of, intake form that they're working with clients. So Drew's been kind enough to share with me some of the forms that she uses in her practice. So you can see here that I have her client skin health intake form. I've got her client agreement and waiver in here as well, and a couple of others as well that Drew has shared with me, in-person treatment intake as well. But let's take a look at what this looks like. And I just want to point out again that you've got that red fast action button here in the corner. So when you're first getting started with your forms in Practice Better, know that you've got a few different options here, and always kind of make use of this button. Essentially, within Practice Better, you have the ability of creating forms completely custom. So you can see here that when you are working with a form, you can name it, you can add description so your client kind of knows why you're sending it to them or what it's for. And then you have this whole menu here of form elements where you can create a custom form that's going to capture exactly the information that you want from your client in a way that makes sense. So you can see here Drew's example of her intake form where she's collecting some of her client's information about them. She's identifying their skin concerns with these check boxes. She's got the ability to, add in some short form answers with skin questions. And you'll notice here the little red star. So that means that Drew has marked this as a question that the client has to answer. So they won't be able to submit this form without answering these questions. So I don't know about you, but when I was practicing nutrition, I would often get back incomplete forms, which made it really hard as a practitioner to make the best recommendations and work with my clients. This is pre-practice better days. So I just love this required question option here so that your client cannot submit that form until they have all questions answered. So you're getting more complete information. And then if it's a question that's not necessarily, important, you don't have to mark it that way. So you'll see here that Drew has used several different styles of questions, from the check boxes to the short form, long form, the yes or no options. So you can see here that with all of these different questions, she's formatting them in a way that the answer is going to make the most sense and be the most kind of succinct and comprehensive for Drew when she's reviewing these before meeting with a client. And as Drew kind of goes along, if she felt like things were better off in a certain order, she'd be able to kind of play around with the order of things. At any time, she can edit questions. If she finds that, maybe she wants to add in additional options here. She could also delete. So lots of different options to make this feel as intuitive as possible for both you and the client. You can break it up by pages as well. So we know that intake questions can get a little bit long, so feel free to kind of break them up in pages. And as you really get your feet on the ground with Practice Better, you'll see that there's lots of options to really take your form use to the next level. So things like conditional flows. So that refers to questions only showing up if the previous question got a certain answer. So for example, maybe we're looking to learn about PMS related skin issues, something of that sort. And it only refers to biological, women, people who have a uterus and are actually menstruating still. So what you could do is add a question that asks if they're male or female, and then it will trigger more questions based on the response. You can also add numerical questions that will come up with either a total or averages. So some practitioners will, base certain symptoms off of a numerical question. So 1 being, mild, 3 being severe, and they'll kind of total those up so they know the severity of any kind of issue at hand.
I
So
have that on page 3, Brittany, if you want to take a look at that too. It's for the Fitzpatrick scale. So it automatically adds up all of their information to tell you based on their answers what their Fitzpatrick range would be.
Exactly. Yeah. So now these can be added into the totals and averages. I don't have it because I just stole this form from Drew as we were coming up with examples for you today, but you could add these in so that you're not manually having to figure out the totals for these when you're looking at the score. So something definitely to keep in mind to make this work for you so that it takes and alleviates work off of your plate. Okay. So you can go through and add as many forms as you need. Most practitioners who are just starting out will need that intake form for sure, and any kind of, waivers or agreements. So Drew has also her waivers and agreements that she adds with clients. And this is really setting the precedent for working with her, right? So she's setting those expectations with the client so they know exactly what it will look like working with her, with those finer details that can, are always best to be told up front. So you've got the option within Practice Better of coming up with a waiver, which will require a signature from the client as well. So you can be sure that they've actually taken the time to review the form from there if they're signing it. All right, now let's move on to the next step. So we now have talked about adding your profile, adding in your services, and creating your form. So those are kind of step 1, 2, and 3. The next thing that you'll want to do to get your practice running on Practice Better is set up your availability. So I've completely, wiped my calendar for the most part here so that we can build this out together. So you can see here, I've got pretty well a blank calendar, and it's really easy to build your availability once you have all of your services booked or created, I should say. So all we need to do here is click and drag. So I'm going to go from my, say, 9 to 5 time slot here. It will ask if I want this availability slot to be on one-on-one or group. I'm selecting one-on-one. I can review to make sure that this kind of populated correctly. I can say that this time slot recurs. So maybe every day looks more or less the same for you, or, maybe some days you're entirely virtual, maybe some days you're in person, maybe some days there's a hybrid. So you can get really granular with your availability setup. So when your clients are booking in, you don't have to kind of micromanage what's taking place where and making sure that the client kind of knows on their end. So I'm going to say that every week on Mondays is going to be the same. And I'm going to be offering, say, all of my in-person sessions here. So I'm going to go through and add in my initial skin consultation. I'm going to offer it both in person and through video chat. I'm going to offer it just at the skin clinic here. And I can go through and add in all of the different things that I'm offering that particular day. So you can see all of my in-person services here. Add in, and so on and so forth, right? So we can add in any that we're seeing clients in person, save that. And now we've got this time slot for every Monday going forward where I'll be working, in person. I can see my skin consultations either virtually or in person. And then I've got that whole other roster of services that I'm offering in person. But maybe Tuesday, when I'm creating this time slot, is only going to be virtual. So I'm only going to be doing my service methods by video chat. So I'm only doing that there. So we're going to leave that one off. And then maybe I'm going to be doing my free skin consult just by video chat, a follow-up session just by video chat. So you can see here that I can get really detailed with what I'm offering, when, how it's taking place. I can even add intentional breaks into my calendar. So if I know that I need to work on the back end of my business with, say, bookkeeping or just doing more of my, client check-ins, I could maybe, start this day and seeing clients at 12. So I can now say that I'm only going to be doing, half day actually working with clients, whereas the rest of the day I'm going to be working on the back end of my business, and I want to reserve that time away from clients. Thursday, maybe I know that I don't have childcare that day. I know that my little girl is going to be home from their school with me because she's currently going part-time. So maybe I want to leave this day off entirely. So you can see here that you can get really detailed with the calendar. So that would be step number 4, is go through and actually come up with your availability. And remember that it can be duplicated. So I know that every week on Thursdays, is going to be the same as my Tuesdays, and my Fridays are going to be the same. That will be really easy for me to set up and have the rest of my calendar populate. Yeah, any questions that we have on the availability as we're going through this? Does anybody have any questions before we move on to the next section here? All right, we'll carry on. And if anybody does think of questions, like I said, please feel free to use the chat here. All right, so we've now shown you how to create the services, how to set up your availability, and it's nice to know how your clients can actually book in with you. So with anything, there's a number of different ways, and this again is really going to come down to your personal workflow. So you'll notice that as you come up with your services, that you can either book a client manually yourself. So I have the option of going through and selecting from my client list who I want to add in for that particular client. I can also invite them to book. So I can select the client, but they're still going to be the ones that chooses a time and a day, and that will pull from my availability. I can share a link. So this link will go to this specific service. So maybe, I just got off or I'm currently on a call with somebody on a free skin consult, and I want to invite them through the link to book in for an initial consultation. I could choose to share that link with them. So there's 3 ways that you can schedule in your services, but we also have, we've already kind of seen this page here, but we also have booking pages. So you'll have your public profile link. So all of your public services will be here. So remember, when you're setting up your services, you do have the option of having them either public or private, private being that only you as the practitioner or the esthetician can book them. And then you also have your client portal link. So for any of your existing clients that want to continue to book in multiple services with you, you can direct them there. But you can also come up with public booking pages. So these are kind of like sales pages, if you're familiar with that. If you're kind of working the virtual space, you might recognize that term. And you can add a page where you could label it. So maybe this is going to be, your skin makeover package, and you can add a title, and you can actually create a sales page. So let's look at one example that I have set up. Now, again, I know that this isn't perfectly related to skin, but this will give you a good idea of what a sales page can look like. So I've embedded a video just welcoming somebody to my 21-day reset program, because this is the custom booking page that I've made specifically for this program. I've added lots of copy to basically sell somebody on the benefits, fill them in on the details of what they can expect with the program. And then below you get the actual information from the program that I've set up in Practice Better. So it's pulling kind of all the information for that. And then if this was something that was, still available, it would have the next steps. So it would allow the client to book in with me. So if you want to kind of come up with a sales page for any particular package, program, or service that you've created, you can really get nice and custom with this. And just, share this anywhere that you can share a link, whether that's your email newsletter, whether that's your social media, linking it to your existing website, anywhere that you can put a link, you can kind of link this booking page here. So that's just kind of another way that you can share your services with your clients when you've got, the services built up, you've got your availability set up, and you're ready to start seeing people within your practice. All right, so one idea that Drew has come up with that is just genius, because it really helps set the stage for your client success. So Drew has come up with a program within Practice Better, and this is going to kind of set the stage with new clients and how they're introduced into Drew's business. So this is allowing people to basically be welcomed into her business and get some real great upfront information on how to use Practice Better, their first steps to working with her, and basically kind of setting the tone for what that looks like and how to use their client login successfully. So basically, to my understanding, and Drew, correct me if I'm wrong here, but every client that Drew is seeing new in her business will go through this program as their very first stage, right? So to give you an idea, she's welcoming that new client in, introducing them into her business, and giving them some calls to action. So allowing them to join her Facebook group, get acquainted with her as their new esthetician. She has lots of great resources on how to successfully use the client portal within Practice Better. So all of your clients will have the option of getting a login to a client portal, and they'll be able to access that through their PC, like Drew has said here, very conveniently, or they can download an app on their iPhone or on, Google Play. So Drew is really giving them a leg up here by educating them on how to use the portal in a really successful way. So packages that you create, so those bundles of services, you can also add a program. So by adding that program to your package, your clients will automatically be registered in this, or you could embed this onto your website so people always start here. So a really great idea to set expectations with your clients. Yeah, Lane says she loves this. I love it too. I think this is so smart. I know it as a practitioner of a different kind, but getting clients to be accountable to what you're asking of them can sometimes be a little bit hard, right? So it's really nice to think that by giving them a little bit more information up front, maybe you're helping to remove those barriers so that they're successful in actually working with you. Elaine says, I love how in-depth you went with this. I've been using Practice Better for a while, but not utilizing the features to its full potential. This is going to be a game changer for me. So glad to hear that. Yeah, that's really why we're here today, to help you kind of up-level your use of platform. Like I said, Drew has found a really successful way to use this with her skincare clients. So really, really great that she shared this with us today. So yeah, she's got lots of different kind of action items for her clients to really make the most of it. All right. So as you're working with your skincare clients, so you've introduced them into the business, and maybe you've done so through this onboarding program like we're looking at here now, then you've actually met with them, your clients need to then stay in communication with you, right? So you need to know as their esthetician if your recommendations are working for them, if the products that they're using are having the effects and the benefits that you're hoping they have. So one way that you can kind of stay apprised of this information is by using the journals within Practice Better. So let's look at our demo client, Mary Smith here. So Mary, this is her client record. Everything related to Mary is here for my reference. And that's another really nice thing about Practice Better is that I've got kind of a whole entire history and backlog of Mary's information for me here. But I'm particularly wanting to look at her journal section. So within journals, I'm asking through Drew, this is Drew's idea. Again, I want to make sure that that's noted to kind of stay up to speed with their current routine that they're using for their products. So this is where I can see, according to what date, that's when this client has started off with the certain recommendations that I've made. I can then see when they've introduced something new. I can know, based on the photos that they're going to send me through the chat feature here, if things are working, if they're not having the intended effects that I had hoped, and I can kind of stay, up to date on what they're working with here. So you will note as you're getting your practice up and started on Practice Better that these journals were more so designed to work with our nutrition professionals. So you will have to edit them a little bit to make sure that they work for your skincare clients. So to do so, when you're in the journal section, you'll have this pencil option and you'll be able to press edit. Now I can see that I've got the one journal here. Remember, I've got the red fast action button, so I could add another journal if I wanted to. But for the sake of this example, we'll just hit edit here. I can name this. So you can see that I've called this the skincare journal. And these are all of the kind of features that come with all of the journals within Practice Better. So not all of these are going to be relevant to me as an esthetician. So I'm choosing to disable these. If you wanted to see that information, no problem. You could choose to have them included. But for the sake of skincare and wanting to see products in this capacity, I'm disabling that. And I'm also saying, of course, that I want Mary to be able to add new entries to this journal. So I'm saving that. And what that leaves Mary with is basically the ability to add in that note where she can include her routines, and I can look at what products she's using when and kind of keep track of her progress there. So really good idea. As the client fills out more journal entries here, you'll be able to review them. You can add notes, you can add emojis, post a reaction. So lots of different ways. There is the option of adding in targets as well with your journals. So for example, if you wanted to have a certain water intake for your clients, we know that water, of course, is great for skin health. You could add that in as well. But that's kind of stepping outside of Drew's kind of methodology here, which is just kind of using this to capture their AM and PM routine. All right. So Drew, is there anything else that you wanted to add before we leave this journal section?
The journal does start out as saying the lifestyle journal, just so nobody's confused when they go into the system and it doesn't say skincare journal in there. You can edit it to then say skincare journal, but it is essentially the lifestyle journal. So I still communicate that to my client and let them know that, even above, where the actual journal entries are, it says lifestyle on there. So just so they're not confused and they're like, oh, I only see this one, just letting them know we're going to be utilizing lifestyle journal. Some clients, it can be really tough to get it through their heads that that's just where you want them to put their regimen if you decide to go about it this way. So whatever suits your practice, you can put that information in your program or, in the protocol that you send them with their products, just however you want this information presented to you as the practitioner. Just make sure you're communicating that to your clients in multiple places. So I have it here. If that video is actually a video of me explaining how to use it specifically for this, you can make those as well. If you wanted to reach out, I'm always happy to help people figure out how to make a video like that so it seems more personal. So that's the one that I've done on the actual journal feature itself. That's about it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think it's just really great that you've thought preemptively of kind of educating your clients on how best to use them, because we are kind of looking at using some of these features a little outside the box. This is just really going to help them understand how you want them to use the journals. So let's just quickly go back there for one last look. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go. And a great way to kind of stay on top of their current routines. So you'll be able to kind of look at the ones that are unreviewed. You can mark it as reviewed when it's done, and the client will know that you've seen it. All right, so the other thing that's really important to consider as you're working with your client journey is ways that you can kind of stay in close communication with him outside of the regular sessions. So let's say that you are working with your clients virtually or in person, you'll still want to have that kind of regular touch point with them just to make sure that things are progressing as intended. So we've got a secure chat feature within Practice Better that makes this really easy. So you've got a couple different ways to access it. You've either got this little speech bubble icon here at the top, and this will take you to the main page here. You can see I've got lots of different examples in here from previous webinars. But you can also go, if I'm back at my home page, you'll notice that you have this little messenger box down at the bottom. So this is kind of like your instant messenger, this chat. So I can look at my conversation with Mary Smith here. So I can see that Mary has asked me a question. So she can send me casual messages to stay in touch with me. She can also send me her progress photos so that I can stay, up to speed with how her skin is doing more routinely outside of those sessions that I've held with her. And I can communicate back with her. So I can also add files. So if there's, something I want to add in, I can send emojis. I can even schedule a message. So if you know that every Thursday morning, you're going to send your clients a check-in message to see how they're doing with their current protocol, you could schedule those in advance when you've got a little bit more time, say on Monday, so that you can reach out to your clients and see how they're doing. So that's a really nice feature to kind of stay in close communication with your clients. Drew, do you have any kind of tips for our attendees today to let them know how you've successfully used this with your clients?
Oh yeah, chat is definitely the number one most utilized feature here in Practice Better. I give my clients unbridled access to myself, but they do know that I request at least 48 hours to respond to them. So that's usually how I function. I ask that they send me all of their images, all of their updates, things like that in the chat. The reason I do that is so that I can actually go through and scroll and view the progress of their images just sequentially, as they happened. So it really works well for that. I find that this is such a layer of support that we just don't see in the skincare industry. We're so often giving clients recommendations, overwhelming them with, this new 6-step regimen. They get home, they don't know how to use it. They either have to schedule another appointment or, call the next day or something like that. This just really allows them to reach out to you and get really great information. And build a relationship with you. So the chat feature is something that I love, and yeah, I definitely recommend using.
Yeah, it's great. And if there is ever the need for you to talk to more than one client at once, but you still want them to get an individual message, we also have something called the broadcast feature. So essentially what this is it allows you to send multiple clients a message at once, and you can choose whether they get a email or they get a message within the portal like you've seen there. And you can also choose for both. So this would be relevant if they haven't ever logged into their client portal. If they haven't ever done that, they wouldn't receive the chat message. So that's when it would default to an email so that they're still getting the message from you. But this would be a really great way to, even like the example here shows, so letting them know that you've got a vacation coming up, they won't have that unlimited access to using the chat with you for the next week or so. So you can communicate with all of your clients. It doesn't go as a group message, but it does go to every individual person, and it can still feel really personalized because you can include placeholders. So this will pull information from their client record so that it still feels like you've sent them a message specifically to them. and it will allow you to select from tags. So tags are something that we use in Practice Better to help organize our clients. So you can see a few of my examples here. I've got one for all clients or active clients. I've got some for, certain programs or challenges that I've hosted if I want to communicate to them, or I could go through and just add in people individually, depending on kind of, who you want that to go out to. You could go to virtual clients only. So these tags will be kind of what you set up in accordance to your practice and kind of what you're offering and how you want your clients to be organized. So I can say that I want this to go out to everyone. It will allow me to review the clients that it's going out to, and this little icon will tell me how it's going out. So again, I've selected email if they've never logged into their client portal. So bear in mind that this is my demo account. So that's why all of these people have never logged in. And then I've got my one demo client here who's going to get that actual chat message. And I can either choose to send this immediately or schedule it. So Practice Better is always looking for ways to, keep things as efficient as possible for you and avoid repetitive work. So if that means sending one message once, kind of doing it once and not having to copy and paste and sending this to all of these people individually to let them know that I'm going to be on vacation and the chat feature, I won't be responding immediately for the next week. This will make it really easy to do so. Just going to check the chat here. So Elaine, I think this question would be more for Drew. So do you prefer the images in the chat box rather than sending them a task?
Yes. The task, when I tell them to send over images, specifically says in large letters, do not send them here in the task. I want those images in chat. I want them all in one place. I want to be able to scroll through and see them in real time and see their progress in real time. Practice Better was amazing and actually just added a feature where I can blow up 2 images and put them side by side and compare, but still just that scroll factor of being able to go through all the images and see how they're progressing is a big deal. So in my task, it says send over an image. And then in the description, it tells them exactly how to send over the image. I need it in chat. I want an image of the front of your face, the side of your face, maybe natural lighting isn't the best lighting because it can't be duplicated. So I tell them to do it with lighting that can be duplicated is how I prefer it. That way the images always look the same. I let them know that I don't want them in the task. And if they do send them in the task, I make them resend them in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing that I will point out is that, like I said, Drew has this really nailed down for how to successfully use the platform for her. But Practice Better also will allow for you to individualize your workflow and really kind of make it work for you and what makes sense for you. So bear that in mind as we go through our examples today, is that you might come up with something a little bit different, and that's totally fine. And there's lots of capabilities and possibilities to kind of think outside the box with how you complete any kind of one certain task with your clients.
Definitely. I've done so many different ways in this platform, and I love that I've been able to change it up as I see something work or not work. And it's been so flexible. It's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the capabilities on the platform. So we've talked quite high level today. Practice Better is fantastic for, building your sales funnel full of prospective clients, giving them some upfront value. So maybe, if you are working virtually and you want to start seeing more clients, you can start to offer them, a taste of what you have for benefits. And then hopefully they'll come on to being, your one-on-one client where you can work individually with them in your skincare. You could even do things like adding them to a maintenance program. So now that we have our monthly membership opportunity for payment, you could do the maintenance and support program, right? So what I've set up here, it might not look perfectly for skin, but the philosophy could still very much apply, where I have set this up to be an ongoing payment. So that could be something, like $50 a month. And then maybe you're sharing with them products that you've vetted. Maybe you're sharing them, opportunities to new products, whatever it may be, right? So ways to kind of keep your clients and retain them and have them really kind of stay in your business long term. so that you have more earning opportunity with them too. So I hope this has really inspired people and given them kind of a taste test of the capability of Practice Better. We've got 10 minutes left of the hour, so I'd love to kind of spend the next 10 minutes answering any questions that anybody has, whether they've seen it on the screen today as an example or not, if they're just kind of curious if something exists in Practice Better, or they want to talk through certain workflows for certain situations. Let's spend the next couple of minutes here answering any questions. Helene does say, Drew, will you be open to offering anything further for support on this transition?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. So, I offer remote mentorship programs with estheticians now, and they're very flexible. I don't have, I don't have a specific criteria that we go over every single time we talk. It's very tailored and customized to what you need as a practitioner. So if going over Practice Better is what you need in this moment, I'm more than happy to help you make that transition, go over some of the tools that have been invaluable to me throughout using Practice Better. There's so much more to this program that's really tough to fit into 1 hour. I think, for example, something that I utilize a lot of when a lot of my clients are asking the same questions over and over and over again. I think you guys can relate to this. It gets kind of tedious. And you're constantly telling them the same things over and over again. They have a tool called Snippets, where I type out really detailed, elaborate information on things like the skin barrier and the health of the skin barrier and why we really need to focus on that first and primarily, or, the formation and the pathogenesis of acne. That's in a really palatable manner so that clients can understand it. And that way, when somebody is complaining about, I just broke out from this product that I used last night, which is something we all hear all the time, I can literally have this gigantic snippet that I just send over that's already been pre-typed out, and it goes right to that client in a very it's very detailed, and I didn't have to spend any time on it. So I probably have about 45 different snippets saved at this point. Mm-hmm. All of these things are, things I'm more than happy to share with you guys. I'm happy to go over, even if we can figure out how to get my program shareable. I can definitely share my program with you guys too, so that you can go and, be able to use the program that I have set up.
Yeah, Drew, I just gave you back host privileges so you can put the camera back on if we want to.
Oh.
Yeah, I love that you're making such good use of snippets. I'm just showing you here on the screen. So once you've created them, which are located in the gear icon here, you'll notice there's a shortcuts and snippets. You can add in basically whatever kind of body of text you want that you're finding that you're repeating often. So about that skin barrier, the genesis of acne, like Drew was saying. And then anytime that question comes up, you just use these curly brackets, whatever the formal name of those is, and you can
that's it.
You can select your snippet so you're not repeating. So like I said, like our whole philosophy at Practice Better is how can we reduce the repetitive work, the work that you find that is just taking up a lot of time day in and day out, and you don't have to do it more than once. So whether that's like a note template or a protocol template, if you're working with some of those recommendations, the snippets, some of the automations that we have set up are really good to start exploring if you're ready to kind of start alleviating some of that manual time. This is kind of a big, long list of examples that I have up here, but you've got this whole list of automations that you can introduce into your practice. And every single one of these you can use in a multitude of ways. So maybe I know with creating tasks that when a certain client registers or completes a form, when they complete their intake form, I want to make sure that I have a task for myself to review new intake form. Something as simple as that, that's going to help me stay focused in my business and keep me focused, right? So I think there's kind of two components of it. There's this mental side of our business where we're thinking about all these little to-do items that kind of float in between the bigger, more pressing items, like actually starting a video session with a client. We have to be on time for that. So that can sometimes, push those things of sending that form right away when we wanted it a little bit earlier, or reviewing that form. So the automations are really good to play with too. Do you have any that you love, Drew?
Everything's automated at this point, so I can't even remember.
Yeah.
I think I love them all, but they just automatically happen. So
Yeah.
I don't know specifically.
And that's the beauty of it, right? Like the fact that you don't even have to like manually think of it. I think back to those days when I'd get so busy and I'd forget to send a client a form back when everything was manual. And I mean, back in the day, it was like they'd get an email with an attachment and then they'd have to have like the right kind of Adobe to even fill it out. If not, they were printing it, filling it out by hand, scanning it back. And then the scanning quality was so terrible. And I'd have to like try and read in messy form. It was just like,
That's insane.
yeah, this is just like such a great solution.
It really is. No, it's been awesome. As long as you can keep your clients on track and doing what they're supposed to be doing, which all of this stuff helps so much. It's just finding those things of, okay, my client doesn't like to read anything. Where do I put this information?
Absolutely.
But that's where snippets come in handy.
Yeah.
If a client doesn't want to read all of the pre-made stuff that you've made because that's overwhelming to some people, I have a snippet that's like, hey, I'm literally talking to you right now and here's what I need from you. So you just send that to them personally and they have to read it. So you have everything that you could possibly need that's been added onto Practice Better. I've been with Practice Better forever, and this was not all here when I first started.
Yeah.
So it's been great to watch it just grow.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very dedicated to really listening to feedback and, putting in some of these changes and new features. We're always a work in progress. So it might always feel like super like speedy when somebody makes a request, but we're always paying attention to the back end of things. We're kind of getting down to the last minutes here. So I do want to share the coupon code that we have for you all here. So this coupon code is available for anyone that's getting started on Practice Better for the first time. So if you're currently looking to start up on any of our paid plans, you can use this coupon code and it's going to give you 20% off for 4 months. And I do want to point out that we do have a free tier account that has about 80% of our total kind of features. So if you're just looking to kind of play around and see if this is something that makes sense for you, certainly play around on our Sprout account. And then when you're ready to upgrade here, you've got this discount code. So I'm just going to put this in the chat here. Just kind of bear with me while I get all this information together. So I'll give you the link to get to Practice Better. So this is Drew's link here. And then you've got the code, which is PB4LE. So you can just follow that link there and, oh, I didn't write it complete at the bottom. Giving you guys incomplete information, PB4LE20, and that's going to give you that coupon code for 20%. So anybody that's kind of getting started for the first time. And yes, Elaine, if you have any questions about the team plan, there's ways to basically set permission as the team owner for any of your other team teammates, team colleagues, so that they can only see certain information. All right. Unless there's any last minute questions, I think we will say our goodbyes. Again, this is being recorded, so keep an eye out for a replay of this if you do want to come back to it. And yeah, thank you so much, Drew, for sharing all your wisdom and insight with us today. Like I said, we really admire the way that you're using the platform. All right, one more question for you there, Drew, if you want to check that out.
Oh yeah, no, Elaine's just, oh no, that is not Elaine asking that. That's okay. So how are you integrating checkout for products when you see someone in person? So I actually have an e-commerce setup, which is different, right? I mean, I work through Shopify. I check out through Shopify. All my products are in Shopify. That's just kind of where I go with this. I'm happy, again, if you want to set up a consultation to go over my process, but my process may not work best for you. If you've integrated with Square or Stripe and you have all of your products set up with Square or Stripe, then you would just use that. You can also, add things, I think, as Brittany's showing you here too, which I haven't personally utilized.
Yeah, there is a way to add a custom product to an invoice. So basically when you're creating, when you're creating that invoice, you can add a custom line item. So it's a solution if you want it to be, but the way that Drew is doing it will likely keep in track stock and things of that nature. So it's less of a manual process in that way. So if you are if you are selling product directly from your business, something to keep in mind is that you can add them to an invoice through Practice Better, but then you still have to kind of maintain number of stock and things of that nature. So you might want to come up with a solution through one of the integration partners that we have. So again, we partner with either Square or Stripe, and who you use is completely up to you, but likely you can log into your Stripe or Square account and see if they have a solution for you as well.
I was using Square, but before I was using Shopify, and it worked fine because I had all my products on Square. I had everything else set up with Square. And then, anybody that pays you remotely from Practice Better, it just filters through Square. So your accountant will thank you.
Yeah. And even if you generate invoices within Practice Better, you can still kind of mark them manually. You can mark them as paid from a different kind of perspective. So if you are, taking PayPal or an e-transfer, there's multiple ways, even if you don't use Square or Stripe, to still kind of keep everything logged in Practice Better if you want to. All right. I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much again, Drew, and thanks everybody who has tuned in to watch. It's a real pleasure chatting with you all. I hope you all have a really great rest of your day and week.
Thanks so much, Brittany. You too.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.